movement of people, that we have to be all be more mindful of who we meet, when we meet, what we do, and the things that we engage in. Human papillomavirus, as it is called, HPV, as it is abbreviated to, is a highly contagious viral infection. So it is highly contagious, skin to skin contact, and you can actually catch the virus. So you don't even have to engage in actual penetrative sex to catch the virus from an infected person. So even oral sex or mutual stimulation of each other, and the person has the virus, you can actually catch the virus. One of the things about it is a latent virus, meaning that it is a slow moving or gravitating virus. It's so you won't catch the virus, let's say last week, and by next week you see lesions. Right. No, it operates very, very slowly. But when it does, a lot of the things that you may see, it will not be a nice picture.
Okay, can I give you a scenario and you tell me?
Sure.
So let's say someone's sweating, right? A guy is sweating, and you see the person on the street, you haven't seen them for a while, and you go to kiss them, and that sweat is now on your lips, and then you don't even think anything of it, and then you lick your lips. Is that a way of contracting? Well,
basically it is normally more associated with the sexual organs, the oral cavity.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we talk about skin to skin, it will be more or less from genitalia to genitalia.
Okay.
So you and a particular the person rubbing up on each other naked, so you can actually contract the virus from that way. I mean, if it were like typical touching, that would be a bit really frantic. But it's usually that friction, that intimate touching, predisposes you more to contracting the virus. Okay. It's one of the viruses that we have been seeing more cases in gynecology. So you find women are now, once doing their pap smears, regular pap smears, you get in slides showing abnormal cells. When you do further investigation, they're finding that it's usually HPV as the culprit, and usually males are sometimes asymptomatic. So the female may have all of that happening in the cervix, and the male may not even show symptoms a lot of the times. And so that is why it means that every one of us can contract HPV if we are not mindful. It is I think your article also, I was reading something about it that they were saying is the number one STI in America right now, in the developing countries. It's so widely spread. It and chlamydia.
Well, this is the thing. It's saying this year alone, 4,120 women are expected to die from cervical cancer because of an HPV strain. So, I mean, it's quite serious.
Definitely. And sometimes people might say, but how do I know that I have HPV? In the male genitalia, it is more pronounced, so it is more visible. So you would actually see it's almost like not a growing flesh, but it's almost like a wart, a black wart on the penile head. So you'd actually see that gravitating. So it just gravitates and it gets larger and larger and larger. Almost similar to, it looks almost like a cauliflower or a broccoli. So it has that image similar to that of a broccoli. Okay. And you would find that happening, showing on the male genitalia.
It would be like a cluster of warts. Okay.
Yeah, and we normally use very intense acid to burn it off. So sometimes we have to use a laser to burn it off. They do the same thing with the cervix. It's a very painful procedure, but that's what. So using a topical antibiotic cream is not going to work. So using triple antibiotic is not going to work. Coming to the pharmacy and asking for antibiotics is not going to work because it's a virus that causes it. And it's the way to destroy it is with very, very harsh chemicals.
Okay. Nona, you're listening. She's listening so intently.
Good morning, everyone.
So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this to speak with Nona.
I love you 95. I love you 95. repair and revitalize your body. Jollies for the complete line of preventative and curative health supplies and tonics. Rejuvenate with men's and women's one-a-day tablets. Boost concentration, Tricentrum Silver and Omega-3s to build your immune and nervous system functions. Strengthen your cardiovascular system. Boost bone health. For stamina, get all your natural balanced Megavites herbal supplements. Men's daily formula for sexual energy and function. Saw palmetto plus supplements to soothe joint pain. Feel like a dynamo. Get up and go. Catch back your mojo at Jolly's Dominica's Principal Healthcare Pharmacy. Why? Because you deserve more from a drugstore.
You're listening to Health Vibes.
So we're back, and while we were taking a break, Carlton made some really great points, and I think he should share it with you.
Yeah, so we were talking about the HPV, and because of the nature of this virus, I was saying to my co-host and our guest that, you know, many times people have sex in darkness. You know, you meet somebody and you get a ride on a vehicle, talk flow, and you pull up on a beach, light go off. You know, it's 11 o'clock in the night, and you don't know what the person has. You don't know what the person's penis looks like. You know, you felt it, but you don't know what it looks like, and you might just be putting yourself at risk. The very same thing with oral sex. You know, people just, you know, do oral sex, you know, without sometimes even looking at the person's body. Yes, it's true.
Or
some of these
inspecting
organisms,
it.
you really cannot see them because they are so minute, but at the same time, you want to take a look and see what you're going to be working with, because you might really be putting yourself at a much higher risk by not even monitoring what you're going to be working with.
And these are the things that our young people really need to hear.
Definitely
too,
need to
you know?
hear.
And Nona said something really, you know, interesting. She said there should be like a 30-second or 30-minute or 30-second inspection
In an ideal world.
in an ideal world. We have a
Definitely.
caller. Good morning.
Good morning,
Yes,
caller.
Doc, what you say there, you're right, you know. No, I
So you inspect?
That's my station, not there, you know, my station. What you say there, you're right. They go anyhow. They go anyhow, they go on bike, they go on anyhow. And do their thing with my pussy and come back home. Anyway, I listen in.
Take care, my friend. You know, and do not forget, condom use really does minimize transmission at least 99.9% once it is used correctly. Stop taking your teeth to tear the condoms to open it. You might be compromising the condom itself. So take your time and put on the lights and ensure there is a rough part on the condom that tells you the part where you can, you know, open it.
Right. And also Nurse Samuel, when she was here, she did say that if a condom has been in the car
Yes.
for a certain period of time, the heat exposure, all of
Definitely.
this stuff can compromise the condom. So ensure that, you know, you're prepared. Good morning.
Blessings to you, my dear.
Good
My
morning,
good friend.
blessings.
Carlton, blessings to you, my brother.
My friend, good morning to you, and how are you?
I good, and the lady in with you all.
Yes,
Good
our
morning.
special guest, yes.
Guess what,
Miss
Carlton?
Lawrence, yes.
Okay, blessings, Miss Lawrence.
Thank you very much. Good morning to
Okay,
you.
blessings. All right, and welcome. Carlton, so you have to examine what you're working with. Carlton, a hammer, a saw, what is it? A nail or something? You have to examine what you're... Carlton, to tell you the truth,
Yes, my
through
friend.
my life, I need darkness to when I'm missing out on this beauty of that creation the Almighty have created. You can refer to me as an examiner, Carlton.
Yes.
But that was once upon a time, Carlton. I'm not going to lie. I am almost expired.
You expired.
But really and truly, that darkness, nah, man. Show me what you got.
Right.
According to you have to know what you're working with anyway.
I agree.
You know, but something on a more serious note, Carlton. I mean, look at it, all the breakthrough and the modern technology and all the improvement, high science and everything. We just keep hearing more and more of new diseases and the resurgence of diseases that once expired and we think they went away. I'm questioning all of that, but I know what is happening already and I'm not going to get into that.
I know.
But I'm just saying, Carlton, what you all have done since after Health Vibes, trust me, I give him thanks, and you all are still continuing with it. I know it's a short program, and it's limited in it, having to do with not just the duration, but it's once a week.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people out there, particularly the young people. The hormone seems to be on steroids. And I don't know, it's in the chicken or what they're eating. All of a sudden, now it's the music, the television. All of a sudden, they're ready.
It's hype, a lot of hype.
Yes, a lot of hype, man. And life is short. Just see what hard, man.
Right, and remember our diet itself compromises so much carbohydrates. That in itself makes us more hype. It's a lot of sugar. So when we talk about these diseases, that's why medically, most medical people now are concentrating on wellness. So you're hearing about, healthy lifestyle equates to wellness. And that's what we promote in wellness, because there's been so much that has affected wellness. And that's why we have all these diseases. We talk about the chronic non-communicable diseases and all of the things that it pulls with it, how it compromises wellness. And so that's what we're trying to bring back, that awareness.
And I have to commend you all, Mr. Jolie. I pray that the Almighty bless you abundantly, and everybody there, Miss Dover, and you have Jacinta, Carlton. That's my favorite person there, Carlton.
Thank you,
Miss
man.
Dover, don't get jealous. Jacinta, please do not. But I just want to tell all you, I really need to commend you all, because, as I've said already, a lot of people just stay behind the counter and, they seal up, they service somebody who comes with a prescription.
Yes.
But you all are out there trying to educate people. Prevention,
That's
rather than I just come to you and yes, I give you the thing and that's it. Go and treat yourself. But that kind of intervention, so to speak, I really love it, having to do with educating people.
Thank you.
And I admire it. Trust me. And I'm listening. Then I'm learning a lot of things as well.
Thank you, my friend.
I'm learning. I'm a curious kind of guy. So
I know that.
God bless you all. I'm
Thank
listening.
You. All right. Take care, my friend.
Blessings. We're actually quite passionate about this program and what we choose to speak about. We do a lot of research. We make sure that we are, we're in the know. And I don't have to be a medical practitioner to be into wellness.
Definitely.
I want to be well. I want to educate my people, and we see it all over. Our people need to be educated,
Definitely.
So we have with us Miss Nona Lawrence, who is an osteopath, and we're going to talk about osteopathy and the tremendous benefits that you can gain from it. And she's here, I believe, once a month.
That's right.
Right. So Nona, what is osteopathy?
Okay, so osteopathy is manual therapy. It is recognized as a complementary / alternative medicine by the World Health Organization. And so to be more precise, so what a session looks like is basically movement, first of all, to assess how your body functions. So the best way to damage yourself is to overuse certain structures or underuse them. So you can get disuse, atrophy of the muscles, for example, but disuse will also affect your range of motion. It will also affect the quality of your cartilage, etc. So once we see the areas of tightness and or weakness, then there are a certain amount of manipulations which are used to release joints which are stuck or tight, and to stretch tight muscles, so to stretch the connective tissues in between all of those structures, which we call fascia. So this is like the little thin covering when you have a chicken leg or a chicken thigh, for example.
Yes.
Right. So this is it's a continuous sheet throughout the body, and it's more or less dense at certain points. But this is also an important factor. So we work on all that, and so when things are weak or underused, then there are a number of exercises that I carry out with the patients during the session. I also advise certain exercises that they can go away and do themselves. And I also use external help. So there's this tape called kinesiology tape, and Jollies happen to have one type in their store, which I use all the time. So what that does is that it will keep, if you have a ligament strain, for example, I can use this tape, which is elastic and sticks to the skin, can use it to protect the range of motion that you have so that you don't re-injure the ligament. So that is a big part of
Katie tip.
that's right.
Interesting.
Exactly.
I wanted to ask you a question. Is your profession similar to that of physiotherapists as a physiotherapist, or are they complementary?
I would say they're complementary. Physios are manual therapists, just like we are, but their specialty is really rehabilitation.
Okay.
So if you have a cast because you've broken a bone, or if you've had a stroke and you need particular exercises, then you need a physio.
Okay.
So where an osteopath intervenes is for functional problems. So if you have functional problems, so if you know that there's nothing sinister going on with you, so you've had your checks and everything is clear, but you're still in pain, this is where we help, because then we are able to look at the body in a different type of in a different capacity. So you have infectious diseases, you have metabolic diseases. For example, I'm thinking of diabetes, where you can get aches and pains because of that
nerve
problem.
damage.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's one thing, and we need to know if you are experiencing pain. You do need to see a doctor, because we have to know there's nothing life-threatening going on. And once that is done, if you're still experiencing pain, then this is where we look at you from a functional point of view. So it means it's trying to see if something's stuck, reproducing the pain, treating it, and doing that same movement again to make sure it's gone.
Is there a difference between osteopathy and kinesiology?
Okay, so kinesiology now is a discipline that uses muscle strength as an assessment tool. So it's more of a diagnostic tool than a medicine in and of itself. However, it's very useful. I use it a lot. It complements therapy in the sense that sometimes you have pain because your body is too slow at rebuilding itself. And that is often due to the fact that you have deficiencies. So depending on your pain, for example, if you have repetitive tendinitis, then I will be thinking that your body is lacking some of the building blocks to make collagen. But there's like a list of them. So instead of giving the patient a whole big list of things to go and buy and eat, then I would use kinesiology to test and advise and give a more tailored dietary and supplemental advice. So the thing is, if you eat right, it gives you the amount of nutrients you need pretty much for that day. Whereas if you're to the point where you have deficiencies, you will need bigger doses to cover today's use and to fill in the gap, filling the hole type thing. So food alone would be difficult. For example, if you have a vitamin C deficiency, to get 2 grams of vitamin C, you'd have to eat a pail of oranges.
That's it.
You can't do that.
Right.
Acerola cherries.
That's right. So this is where supplements come in handy. But we also have to bear in mind supplements don't work as well if your baseline diet is wrong.
That's true. And that's a good point that you've made. You know, many times people, feel, well, okay, I'm going to skip breakfast, I'm going to skip lunch and have a big dinner, and I will just take my vitamins and it will substitute. And no,
that doesn't really
that doesn't work.
But
that
also,
way.
it doesn't work if you have parasites.
Exactly.
Right.
Because if you have parasites and you're taking vitamins, sometimes, depending on your dietary regimen, the parasites then feed off of
That's
You're
true.
wasting your
supplement, and you're wasting your supplements.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So they're getting stronger while
While
you're
you still
actually
get
getting
Right.
weaker.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and for that, and to clear them out, you do need some kind of help. So whether it's medical antiparasitic treatment or naturopathic herbs and supplements, you do need some form of help.
So I have a question for you. So who needs to see an osteopath?
Okay. The simple answer would be everyone. So when you have a car, even if it's in perfect working condition, you do have to service it. So the same way annually you should go and get your medical check just to make sure everything's right inside. You definitely should take care of your frame, because your body is what allows you to go out there, do what you do, have fun, enjoy life. And it does wear and tear. So it's worth checking it out every so often to make sure everything is fine. So on the grand scheme of things, everyone, but to be more day to day and down to earth. The most of the patients I see come because they have some form of ache or pain.
Okay.
Do we have a call? Okay.
No, we did, but
So would you, I mean, as we said earlier on, diabetics are prone to neuralgia, nerve pain, a lot of nerve pain and nerve damage. Would they be an ideal clientele for such a therapy?
Unfortunately, they would not. So what the best thing for diabetic patients would be to really work on their diet, because the source, you have to work on the source of your problem. If the source of your problem is your sugar handling, then this is what you need to address and get it right as fast as possible before you start getting all those neuralgic pains.
now, what are the risks and complications associated with your treatment?
Okay. There are theoretical risks of, I suppose, bruising is one thing. But then people are often very scared of manipulation, thinking we can break their joints or break their bones. And that's actually a misconception. So the sound that you hear when, for example, when you crack your fingers or when a therapist manipulates you, is more like the sound that you hear when you're separating two pieces of glass that are stuck with water, and you hear this little sound. So joints are, you have your articular surfaces, and there is fluid inside the joints. So what we do when we manipulate is the joint is stuck, so we separate the surfaces, and the liquid which is in between gives you that effect, just like as if you were separated. So it's nothing bashing or breaking. So really and truly, there are very, very few osteopathic accidents.
Some people have said that you should not crack your knuckles.
Right.
Is that factual? Is it?
It is. So what happens is, if you manipulate all the time, then you stretch the joint, and the increased range of motion means that all the supporting structures, like the muscles and the ligaments, they have to work harder to control it. So it's easier for you to go too far and have like a subluxation, so which is just your joint going too far out of place, and that, you know, you expose yourself to a whole new cascade of injuries. So people crack their fingers a lot. Sometimes they crack their neck and their lower back. So these are the joints which naturally would move, and then it's easier for us to increase the movement ourselves. And if you do that long enough, you then make your muscles work harder, and that's when one morning you just bend down to pick up a piece of paper or something, and while you're unaware of it, the joints go too far, and the muscles have to then quickly contract to protect the joints from coming out of contact. Then you get this spasm, and you're locked in that bent position, and you feel like the world is coming down on you, and so that's why you want to avoid cracking all the time.
You mentioned something earlier on as well, where you said that many times when you assess clients, you also give them, so to speak, a homework, certain exercises that they can do at home. What would be some of the exercises? I know that many therapists, they recommend swimming, for example, as a very good tool that would help with skeletal muscular disorders. What are some that you would normally recommend for the clients you would see?
I think I try to give as easy as possible exercises, because the best exercise is the one you're going to do every day, right? So I try and give them things they can do at home. And to be honest, I always start with stretching, so specific stretching according to the tightest muscle I find in that patient. But if you think of muscles as shock absorbers, when you move, if your muscles are contracted, they shorten and they're less elastic. So they're less able to absorb shock and movement, which means all those forces now go straight to your frame. It's like a car. So if your shocks are damaged, if they're used, then the whole car has to take the blow.
That's true.
Right? So same thing. So this is how, because of muscle spasm, tightness, shortness, you can end up getting joint pain. So when they come, I work on the joint because it's hard for them to do, but there's pretty much always a stretch that people are able to go away with to maintain the work that we would have done in the practice.
So if I come to you, having never been to an osteopath before, the first session would be you analyzing my joints and my bones and that kind of thing. And then then what happens from there? How many treatments does one need? And
so depending on how well you respond to the first treatment, I'm able to kind of give a prognosis. So if people are about 70% better after the first session, I don't rebook them right away, because the body will take time to settle in, absorb what we would have done, and it often happens that they're fine after that. So if you're 70% better or more, then I usually think a session is enough. Otherwise, I tend to see people on average about, I'd say, 4 sessions.
okay.
So a session a month roughly.
And how long is a session?
A session is half an hour.
So you do the entire body in half an hour.
Okay, so I'd say yes and no to this. Depending on if somebody comes and they have no pain, then I'm able to scan through and check the whole body. Most of the time they do have a complaint, so it means I start off with the area of complaint and all the areas which are associated with it. So it's not systematic that we do the whole body every time.
Okay. So if there's a localized area, that's
I know 3 people who have seen you and have had very, very good reviews with your
thank you.
work. Sports injury. It's another area that many people they play football and cricket and all these things, and they may get injured during the sports. What do you see many people with sports injuries, and what type of sessions do you give them? And the elderlies that would suffer with arthritis, as a major complaint, do you work with people with arthritis as well?
I do. Okay, so to start with the sports people, sports is actually the reason why I came back to Dominica. So I was working in London, and in 2012, I was living near to one of the Olympic sports activities, and I got to meet the Dominica's delegation, and I figured, well, maybe we need more of that kind of help here. So I do work quite a lot with sports people, and the way it goes with them is that there's probably more emphasis on the muscle health and quality, just because they do have a lot more strength to absorb. So that's one thing. And the second aspect for them that I emphasize is nutrition. So because they wear themselves so much faster, they must have
protein
enough
levels have to be increased.
Protein, the type of protein. So thinking
Aminos.
of collagen is one that we often forget, but to build your ligaments back, you need that. A lot of vitamins and minerals, etc.
Okay.
So
We have a caller.
Okay.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Very, very, very interesting program here. It's a pleasure to listen to this. Although I am in the medical field myself, but it's a pleasure listening to you and your program.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
sir.
for
Probably one of the reasons you are not getting calls is not the same vibes every day you hear all around. So
I know.
you are not getting much calls this morning.
Okay.
Another thing is, I know there are a lot of people listening to your program.
Yes.
And I am a little bit concerned about the language. It's not, I shouldn't say language, but the terms that are being used. And I don't know how much can it be broken down
Okay.
for many listeners. I'm not saying that all the listeners are a little bit naive or uneducated, but I don't know how can it be broken down for many of the listeners, especially, some listeners who have no idea about osteopathy or even some of the words that are being used. So maybe just a little bit of, looking at the terms and language and expression that are being used, and maybe break it down a little for all of us to understand in our way. But it's a very great program, and more of this should be heard in Dominica, especially to educate the masses about their health and their wellness, and and it not really in terms of a longer program, but more often.
Yes, sir. Well, this program is held every Wednesday morning on this station from 10 to 11.
Yeah, I am aware of it, but probably a little bit more often. Maybe Wednesdays, Fridays, at least 2 times a week, because
we
it's very
can look into
educational.
it. Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you
that.
very
Thank you.
much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
We have another caller. Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
To the panel and to the listening audience.
Good morning
Good
to you,
morning.
madam.
Full day. Very good program.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
Thank
Lots
you.
of information and knowledge.
Thank you.
Elevate us into a healthier and a longer life. But I would have like a question there, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if it would be pertinent to the discussion you'll have. When you experience like hair on the tongue or itching or something on the tongue, when you brush it, it feels bitterish. What could be the cause of it?
When you experience what on the tongue?
Hair.
When you say hair, what do you mean by hair?
Like to feel like the tip of your tongue has hair or thread on it.
Well, that's a perception, but you know you're not seeing hair on your tongue.
Yes, but it feels like
Okay.
hair.
Okay.
And then you have an itching, and sometimes when you brush the tongue, you experience some bitterness. What could be the cause of it?
That might be something like caused by an allergen, meaning that you might be allergic to something. We normally recommend that you'd have an assessment done, maybe see your dental practitioner firstly, and then if it's something that they cannot diagnose, then maybe see a medical practitioner. But by just hearing that, I am assuming, and I quote that it might be an allergic reaction, whether it's to a food or some type of substance that the individual might be ingesting.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, madam.
You're welcome.
So we were
Can I just say something to the previous caller? He spoke about how, it's great that we're educating people and that we need to pretty much explain. I mean, I think we do a great job of explaining, but the thing with education is we have to pull people up. And even if we break it down, we still need to bring them up to a level. And so we're constantly striving to educate our public.
That's true.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning to you.
When I started listening to the program, apparently it was like every introduction was taken place already in terms of numbers and everything. But now I'm ready to leave the house. Is it possible I could get a number to call when I'm ready for this program?
Can you give you would like the numbers to call?
Yes, I would like you to.
You would like what?
We can't hear you because you sound very low. Can you turn down your radio?
I was saying, when I started listening to the program, apparently it looks like all your numbers and introduction, who you are and everything had already been done. Now I'm ready to leave the house. The program is so interesting, but I have to leave. I will need a number to call you if I was ready, please.
Okay, so you want a number to call Miss Lawrence if you wanted to see her?
Yes, please.
Okay, no problem. Sure. So you can book an appointment on 449-6846 or 285-9952.
Okay. 684.
449-6846. That's the first one. And then the mobile is 285-5592. Sorry.
Okay, 5592. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So we were talking about the sports injury and the people who suffer arthritis as well.
Carlton, we have another call.
We have a call?
Good morning.
Yeah, quickly.
Yes, sir.
Having to do with nerve repair and muscle contraction, is there a possibility there could be some injuries are irreversible? I can understand that. But to what extent you would be able to, deal with, some contraction, muscle contraction and nerve repair and, just wanted to be enlightened on that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So as you said, some nerve damages are irreversible. So that's why your doctor would definitely need to be involved. So once we've established exactly what's going on, then as a general rule, your nervous system needs quite a bit of fat. So you have the nervous cells, but they're surrounded and insulated by layers and layers of fat. So to help promote better nerve function and healing, we would have to assess and see if you have enough of the different ones. So some of them would have to be saturated fats. Coconut oil is great for that. I've seen on the internet people who report recovering from Alzheimer's and that sort of stuff by just using, well, not just, but using a lot of coconut oil. So I'm not saying take coconut oil and your problems will go away, but that's just to illustrate the importance of fat in that kind of nerve treatment. We would also have to look at omega-3s. That's a different type of fat, and your body needs it for a whole host of things. Most importantly, your body needs it to produce anti-inflammatories. So a lot of our issues are due to inflammation, and that's half of the time because we don't produce our own anti-inflammatories. This is the importance of taking omega-3s, making sure you have enough of them, and also making sure you don't eat fats which counteract the effects of omega-3s.
So what fats would counteract?
So to give a category name, those fats would be called trans fats. So they're fats which have been transformed. Let's just put it that way. So things like margarine, because margarine is made with oil, and they have to process it so it becomes solid. And that's a problem. Once it gets into your body doesn't really know how to get rid of it, so it sticks around for a long time, and it blocks the spots where your omega-3s would normally sit and produce omega-3s. So that's why margarine...
So is that like using butter as well?
Well, butter is actually... real butter is a natural product. So the only thing about butter is that it's just heavy to digest, but your body will know what to do with it. So if you eat excessive butter, then you'll have a problem. But it's much better to eat butter than margarine.
Yeah.
And lard as well.
Lard is also very heavy.
Lard, they use lard in bread and so forth. That too, and even I know some people use fats that came from pork as well too.
That would be lard.
But you mentioned two essential supplements that are very useful in your practice, which are omega-3 and collagen, both of which we have at Jolly's Pharmacy, and I suspect glucosamine chondroitin too. You might use that from time to time, and we've spoken about these on my program with Matt on Fridays. The reasons, the importance of using the omega-3 and the collagen, particularly your metabolism begins to drop, you get into your 40s, and your body begins to slow down. You definitely need to be on these types of supplements. If you are in sports as well, you lifting weights, these are supplements too that you should be using consistently.
Okay, so what is the success rate for osteopathic treatment?
Okay, so looking back, I try to analyze like every 3 months or so how things are going for my patients. So there are people, I'd say there's about 70% of the patients who come for a particular problem that we're able to solve within, as I said, within 1 to let's say 4 treatments.
Okay.
And then there is a category of people who have wear and tear to the point where things cannot be really reversed or healed completely, but they're still functional, so they can be maintained. So that would be people with osteoarthritis, for example, of the knees. Let's just give an example. So that's when your knee, the bones of the knee are starting to change shape. So you see it's enlarged, but it's not just swelling, it's actually the bones which have changed and the cartilage is worn out. So if you reach a very advanced stage, then there's and you get no pain relief, then you would need a replacement. But you have a number of people who have pronounced wear and tear, but who can still function with a little bit of pain. So for those people, we're able to like alleviate the pain periodically and just keep them on this maintenance type of scheme. So that's one bracket of people. And then of course there is a small percentage of people for whom manual therapy is just not helping.
Okay.
So what about we split disc problem?
Okay, discs. Disc problems are very common. So that's probably one of the complaints I see the most, and we usually have a very good success rate with that. So what happens is, I do have to mention that if you have severe nerve compression from the disc, that becomes a medical issue. But most of the time, the people have pain and a slip disc, but the nerves are not being compressed to the point where they're compromised, and we're able to help. So what we do is we have to flush the inflammation that builds around the damaged nerve. So that's a particular type of manipulation. Then I also have to stabilize the whole back, because to end up damaging your discs, it's been a whole chain of events before that. So it starts with slouching a lot, or lifting a lot, or twisting a lot, just overusing your back in the wrong way. So your ligaments then start to damage and not work as well as they should. So then your joints go too far. So that's when you get those sudden locking episodes. You wake up and your back is just in spasm. It takes a while. It may go away on its own or not. So you have a few of these. And after that, now every movement you do will go all the way to the disc and start giving it little tears. And this is what ends up being called the slip disc. So at this point, once we've flushed away the inflammation, we have to stabilize the back. Those tapes come in handy at that point. Exercises also come in handy. And I also investigate and advise dietary supplements and nutrition to support collagen rebuilding.
Okay. So what is the cost of your treatment, and how often are you in Dominica, and how long will you be here this month?
So one session is half an hour, and it's 100 EC. So, and the way I function is I'm here a week every month. So my patients are informed of the specific dates ahead of time, so they can pick a day and time that works for them. And I see most patients once during that week, so I see people on a monthly basis. There are a few few conditions where it's necessary to see them twice within that week, but mostly it's like a monthly basis.
Okay.
And where are you located, your office?
So the office is on Fort Lane, which is between Dominic and Wacky Rollers.
Okay.
And it's a green building upstairs. I'm upstairs of that green building. Sorry.
It's a beautiful green building. I might say so myself.
Thank you.
Okay, Carlton, do you have any more questions?
I think it was a great show. I think the area that we spoke about is very pertinent to so many injuries that we see from time to time, and medicines alone are not always helping.
Not always.
And people do need,
because if you're in pain, then that energy that's diverted towards thinking or avoiding the pain that's energy that you cannot devote to doing what you really want in life. So and there's help, so there's no reason to just linger with that.
Well, I am taking the opportunity to see Miss Lawrence sometime while she is here, and too, because last week I did say that I have been to various kinesiologists where they test what sensitivities I have based on how my muscles react to certain foods. So there's times when you eat something and you just feel laissez-faire or tired.
Yes.
And some people call it niggeritis, but it's not. Your body is actually sensitive to this kind of food, so you should actually stay away from it.
Yeah.
So yeast has been one of my muscle relaxers. My body is sensitive to it, and I think that people need to start paying attention to those times. Food is supposed to give you energy.
It's true. It's
not to make you
food is not supposed to make you feel tired.
That's true.
Exactly.
So I am going to have I'm saying it's going to be a wonderful experience, because I'm always inquisitive. I'm always willing to learn more about my body and what makes it tick,
Yeah, and that's very important, because we do need medical help, but we also have to be invested as much as we can in our own health.
That's
and
true.
so what the doctor doesn't know about you should know. So you should try and find out every time you can.
So that's funny that you say that, because each time I go to the doctor with a symptom, I say, listen, I went on to WebMD symptom checker, and these are the things that I think it may be based on the symptoms. I'm a doctor's dream, okay? So it's quite funny. But so next week, we're going to be talking about yeast infections. Ladies, men, I'm telling you, this is going to be
because
a
men
great
can
show.
get yeast infections.
Oh yes. And we all can have an overgrowth of yeast.
That definitely.
So we want to make sure that we tackle that. But Nona, thank you so much for being here today and for shedding so much light on osteopathy. I think it's a great addition to wellness and medical health. And I think that, Dominicans on a whole should come out and try to see you. What's your number again?
Okay, so 449-6846 and 285-5592.
Okay.
Definitely.
So thank you guys for listening, and I want to tell my listeners thank you for their contributions today. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And we'll take all of the advice and the suggestions we get to better improve on our delivery of this show.
We want to leave you with this. Your health is your responsibility. It is more than wealth. Okay? So take control of your wealth, of your health, and ensure that you get to the status of optimal wellness. Until next time, I'm your host, Carlton.
And I'm Pearl Fontaine Butler. Take care.
Bye-bye.
I love you 95. I love you 90.